Hi, welcome back to the channel. I am Kimberly and it is Wisdom Wednesday. So today I'm going to share my journey on letting go of toxic self-talk and toxic relationships. So I had to let go of the way I spoke to myself before I could let go of the people who couldn't handle my growth. Right. So you see all of this, oh, let them go, cut off negative people. How about I'm praying, I'm trying to figure out who's negative people. Boom, it's me. I'm negative people. I'm negative self-talk. I'm part of the problem, right? The whole time I'm thinking about it in terms of other people. And yes, seeds had been planted. And yes, some of these people that had been some of my closest relationships were no longer supposed to be in that space as I was growing, and it was causing a problem. But I was also causing myself a problem with my negative self talk. So, healing the way that I talked to and spoke to myself about myself made it impossible, right? I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't stay in spaces where I was undervalued, right? And that's been a lot of what I've been talking about for this past on my YouTube channel, period, because I talk about what building self-confidence, right? Self-esteem, self-belief, belief in abilities. And I'm telling you, a lot of it goes back to the things I say to myself. So we have what I call a toxic inner voice that's always battling to rule the day, if you will, right? And so I was holding myself back, right? I was my own worst critic. It was the voice that was the loudest because it's always up here and it never goes anywhere. Yes, like I said, I could say, oh, this person's being negative. Oh, this person isn't affirming me. But I wasn't affirming me. The only reason those people could stay in my space is because Kimberly was not affirming Kimberly. I had to heal. And that's why I talk a lot about healing modalities like journaling. Get the journal, y'all. I talk about walking through simple practices, right? Step by step healing. And this gave me the space and will give you the space and gives the space to work some of these issues out, right? And so I also introduced affirmations to myself. People do affirmations all kinds of ways. I'm a big fan of setting a timer on your phone, right? And so the affirmation goes off. It can be a silent timer so that no matter where you are at work, you could be somewhere where it needs to be quiet. But if you have that affirmation going off to remind myself, some of the affirmations I have will say, you're in the best place right now. Or some of them will say, you are right where you need to be. Take a deep breath. Some of my affirmations literally say, take a deep breath. And so I use my phone, but I also use sticky notes. I don't know what we call them now. I call them sticky notes, but sticky notes where you can post-it notes, where you can put them on in different places, mirrors. You can put them. I could put one on my laptop. I've had one on my laptop before. Just whatever affirmation I need. An affirmation, since we're talking about it, is I no longer speak negative about myself. I only speak positive. Or if you want to leave the negative part out, I speak positive, uplifting words over myself is a good affirmation. Drop a comment if you've ever used affirmations for your own healing journey. Another thing, of course, I was praying, I was seeking God, trying to figure these things out, like what's going on with me? Why am I stuck? With that, I journaled, I did the affirmations, and I got under a coach. So I had to get in community under a coach. I had to do a lot of different things because my background and all of the deep rooted and deep seated toxicity that I had, negative self views, negative opinions, required that I do the things, right? I couldn't just do journaling in a corner by myself. I had to be in community. I needed accountability, so I needed a coach. Accountability to what? To growth, to completing the goals that I'm setting, right? To growing. And so there are plenty of people on YouTube you can follow that talk about these topics. That's a form of community and accountability, right? Just whatever you need to do. But for me, it took coaching. It took different communities. I said in a previous video, when you're transitioning, Get yourself connected to communities. It could look like a book club, right? You don't have to talk about what your transition is. The point is that you just need the group of people and the community while you're in those different places and while you're trying to grow, right? And so as I started to heal, the way I thought about myself, the way I spoke about myself, I had to start letting go of relationships that were no longer aligned with that for me. So what that looks like, right, is I started showing up fully for myself. I noticed some people couldn't handle the new version of me, right? And that presented my next issue, which was an emotional heart time. My heart was hurt. I was sad. I was like, man, I'm growing and I'm recognizing that this person is not quite ready for that kind of growth. And so this is no longer working for me, right? The way that this person from this time in my life keeps seeing me, keeps treating me, keeps talking down to me is not going to work for where I'm headed, because I'm headed where I'm headed and no one's going to stop that. No lifelong relationships, nothing's going to stop me. And so again, that presented a moment of pause. I had to really carefully walk through and start realizing I have to release this. I also had to release my over dependence on like people. I'm over relying, I'm over pulling on people, right? This all came as a result of my growth, and it was tough, right? Letting go of relationships that were not aligned to where I was growing to was not about anger. I'm not angry about it. I was more hurt than angry, but that's not what it's about, right? It's more about growth and alignment and just realizing that some relationships are just meant for certain seasons and cannot continue where you're headed. And that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes I've noticed a lot of content out that's like, they hate and cut them off, blah, blah, blah. It's not always about that. It just may be your growth is here and their growth still has to get there. And sometimes you have been the person that someone has to cut off because they grew beyond you. And so remember how that feels as you ease back from some of the relationships that are no longer aligned. But yeah, that is a part of your growth, and it's a hurtful part, right? It's a part that requires you to continue journaling, to continue working through whatever comes up for you during that process, right? You have to have courage. So with this growth, I had to start setting boundaries. I'm just not always available because my attention has to go to this thing now. Or I was too available and I'm just having to cut back on some of that. Sometimes in the journey, although I'm telling you to be in community, you'll find yourself in solitude, which is why I'm giving you several ways to work through it, which include journaling. So you're in solitude, you can journal, right? Which include, okay, you join a book club. Yes, a part of it is meeting with people, but a part of a book club is also just being on your own and reading whatever the book is and just working through that material. And so that's why that's a really good suggestion, a way to have community and to continue your growth in small steps. And you have to make a commitment, right? A commitment to self-love. Listen, you can no longer shrink yourself to fit into other people's comfort zones. That day is over. We don't live in that time period anymore. And the people who feel like that are some of the people you may have to release. Whatever you're supposed to be doing, the world needs you right now. We need everybody shining their light right now. We need you to show up as you boldly and authentically right now. And every time I start talking about this, I really feel it. Like whoever is watching this, you need to come out of that corner and step into this light. You need to offer what you're supposed to be offering right now for your generation in this time period, right? You're not too young. Let me state that one more time. You're not too young. And so that's something that you have to have as a commitment to self, a commitment to not shrinking to make other people feel better, right? You can't heal and stay in the same places that broke you, right? Growth requires distancing yourself from certain people in certain situations. Now, it may not mean that you're always distanced from them. It just may be a time period. For some people, you will always be distanced from those places. But for others, you just may need some space away for a time and you'll be reconnected back. You'll know once you go through your journey and once you keep healing, right? So I just want to offer you encouragement to just let you know that hey, you can heal from negative self-talk. You can learn how to navigate these new places. You can grow and you can heal, and you can become more aligned with people that are where you're headed. And you may have to cut off people that aren't headed that way, and that is okay, right? And so I want you to, drop a comment. It can be an emoji, of course, just to express yourself. Let me know, are you working on healing from your own self-talk that was toxic? Are you working on healing from toxic relationships? Comment below. Let me know if you've ever had to go through this at all. Has it been tough for you? Like, how did you handle it? Right? I'm offering journaling, affirmations, community circles. But what's another way that you found? It could be walking, nature. Connecting to nature is a good way to continue working through your healing. And so just let me know. I appreciate you for joining me on this Wisdom Wednesday, and catch my next video. I am Kimberly Carter, and I see you soon.